I want to bring in NBC's Ryan Nobles, who's on Capitol Hill. Also with me, MSNBC political analyst and former Florida Republican Congressman Carlos Curbelo. Sam Stein is managing editor at The Bulwark and an MSNBC contributor. So, Congressman, look, it's one thing for the president to push back on his supporters. It's another thing to essentially disown them. What's your reaction to this?
Yeah, this is pretty significant for a base that has been very unified. Of course, the Republican Party hasn't always been unified behind Donald Trump, but his base has really spoken and acted in unison with a lot of issues, especially these kinds of conspiracy type issues. So this is definitely an interesting moment, a unique moment as we think back at the MAGA movement, which is now about 10 years old. There's a clear break here. The president wants this issue to go away, Chris, but it really doesn't seem like the issue is going to go away at all. We see that there are Republican lawmakers, especially in the House, that are pushing Speaker Mike Johnson to speak out, to demand more information. So I think that until the Attorney General comes out and makes some definitive statements, answers questions, this is just going to continue boiling.
And we don't see any indication that she's planning to do that, Sam, although we just heard in the Oval Office the president speaking well of Pam Bondi again. But do you think he really doesn't care if he gets these folks back, former supporters?
No, it's very abnormal to hear Donald Trump say he doesn't care about his base. In fact, his entire career politically has been him tending to his base, has been him stoking a lot of these conspiracies. And the people who he says have bought into this conspiracy are, in fact, people who he's appointed to high-ranking positions of power, right? Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, who are involved in handling this case as director and deputy director of the FBI. They are on camera. We've seen them with our own eyes, pushing the Epstein conspiracies prior to taking on positions of power in the Trump administration. So this is an interesting tack by Trump to say that Republicans who have bought into this are just doing the Democrats' bidding and that he doesn't want their support. And I'm sort of curious as to why he's doing this, because in the end, it's just keeping this story alive. It's giving it new oxygen. And I don't think it actually serves him all that well.
There is a lot of oxygen to this story, Congressman, and we've been hearing from conservative influencers all week. They give us a pretty good idea of where that MAGA base is, right? Here's what two of the biggest, Joe Rogan and Candace Owens, said just yesterday.
They got videotape, and all of a sudden they don't. You know, you have the director of the FBI on the show saying there's no if there was, nothing you're looking for is on those tapes. Like, what? Why did they say there was thousands of hours of tapes of people doing horrible? Why did they say that?
Right.
Didn't Pam Bondi say that?
It seems like you think your base is stupid. That's how I feel. I feel like Trump thinks his base is stupid, or, again, because I don't think he's pressing send on these messages, the people around him certainly think that Trump is stupid.
This, I think, Congressman, was maybe the most surprising thing to me, because Donald Trump got elected in at least significant part the first time, talking to people, because they believed Democrats looked down on them. They believed Democrats thought they were stupid. Now he's talking about them being duped by the Democrats. Is this that this administration looking at this somehow overestimated their loyalty to him, or underestimated their loyalty to this whole idea of the Jeffrey Epstein files?
Well, look, Donald Trump has become a successful politician by being a change agent, by railing against the establishment, by being the quintessential anti-establishment figure. And what a lot of these people in the base feel right now is that he has abandoned that theme. He has abandoned that commitment to uncovering all of these conspiracies, to putting the truth out there. Donald Trump's always been the one saying, let's get all the JFK information out there, right? Let's get to the bottom of everything. Let's not let the elites lie to us. us. And now, maybe for the first time, Donald Trump is saying, no, we need to move on from this. We don't need to talk about this anymore. This is in the past. This is a crazy conspiracy theory. So that is why it's so dissonant. That's why it doesn't make sense to a lot of these people and why they are frustrated. And by the way, Chris, if Republicans are to defy political gravity and maintain control of Congress after the next election, they need this space to be united and motivated. That's why many of them are calling for more transparency and for more information.
Yeah, among them Speaker Johnson, Ryan, before this post came out, before we heard what the president just had to say inside the Oval Office, he was siding with the MAGA base, calling for more transparency. I want to play part of what the speaker said.
It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide.
I'll let the Department of Justice continue to carry out what they need to do. I do think there needs to be more transparency.
But whatever they have, it needs to be transparent. It needs to come out.
I think moving forward, we need a special counsel. That has got to happen.
I'm big on clarity and transparency, and that's a good reason people don't trust government, either party.
But you don't believe what the Justice Department is saying?
I don't know. No, I don't. I don't trust them.
A Republican congressman from Tennessee saying he doesn't trust them. Here's my question, because what we keep hearing from the president and from others is that if there is credible information, we will put it out there. But does anybody, like the folks we just heard from, believe that there is credibility, trustworthiness in the people who are making those decisions, i.e. Pam Bondi and people around her?
Yeah, Chris, and I think, first of all, we have to state very plainly that what the president said in the White House today, what he put in that post this morning, is a full-on rewrite of history. This idea that there's just a small cadre of former Trump supporters that are obsessed with and want answers in the Epstein affair is just blatantly not true. And we saw that demonstrated in real time yesterday as this conservative podcaster, Benny Johnson, held court here on Capitol Hill and brought through a long list of conservative members of Congress who are diehard Donald Trump supporters. And every one of them, from the speaker to Marjorie Taylor Greene to Lauren Boebert, said they are not satisfied with what the Department of Justice has said about the Epstein scandal. And this is also a scandal that has been perpetuated by the conservative base of the MAGA movement. These are people who are amongst the strongest supporters of Donald Trump. So this idea that he can just wave his finger, put up a couple social media posts, say in the Oval Office that there's nothing to see here, that this was a hoax perpetuated by the Democrats, and it's all just going to go away, perhaps there will be a group of his supporters that trust him and just decide to put their heads in the sand as a result of it. But this is such a fundamental issue that so many people in the conservative base have been obsessed with for the better part of a decade. The idea that they're just going to turn a blind eye to it now seems fanciful. And the fact that you see so many of these people that are connected to this and have been obsessed with this scandal for some time, just not listening to the president when it comes to this, is evidence of that. And I thought one of the most interesting things was Lauren Boebert suggesting that a special counsel be appointed to investigate this. You know, of course, special counsels were the root of the Russia investigation in the first Trump administration. They're something that Donald Trump abhors. He basically fired the former Attorney General Jeff Sessions as a result of him appointing a special counsel. So this is just, but what I mean to say by that, it demonstrates that Republicans in Congress and Republicans in the larger political universe are not just going to let this go away, because this is something that they've been very committed to for a very long time.
Yes, I want to read part of a piece you helped put together at the Bulwark, and among other things, it says this, quote, "It's damn near impossible to convince a conspiracy theorist that they're living in lunacy. The only real remedy is to try and change the subject or to shrink down the conspiracy to a less politically damaging size." It hasn't worked to change the subject so far, 10 days. Shrinking it down, it's only grown, and it's grown by the oxygen given to people who have been incredibly loyal to Donald Trump from the beginning of his first term. So where does that leave things, Sam?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, the basis for that piece was to go back and relive another conspiracy theory that overwhelmed an administration. And that was birtherism, which ironically was pushed by Donald Trump in 2011. You probably remember this, Chris, but the Obama White House thought this is just silly. We've debunked this a million times. This is a sideshow. They got angry at the press for focusing on this. They called it a distraction. They got angry at the media for focusing. A lot of sort of similarities to what we're seeing now. And then ultimately they decided, you know what, we have to get rid of this discussion. Let's produce the birth certificate. And they thought that would get rid of the conspiracies because, of course, here's finally proof and we could put it to rest. And it didn't do that. In fact, it just moved to a different conspiracy. It suddenly was, well, no, that's not the right birth certificate. Where's the long form birth certificate? And Trump, he just moved on to a different conspiracy, too. He said, well, I'm glad they did that, but where's Obama's college transcripts? And can we get his passport information? Long and short of it is that when you're trying to deal with a conspiracy theorist or a conspiracy theory movement, it's impossible really to use reason. And that makes it really pernicious. The only real way to deal with it is to try to change the subject. And so Trump has been trying that now for a couple of days. He said, well, you shouldn't be focusing on this. I can't believe you're focusing on this. This is a distraction. Comey wrote these memos. Hillary Clinton wrote these memos. And then today, of course, saying anyone who believes in this is a traitor to the cause. And so, is he doing a good job trying to move the conversation elsewhere? No, because we're still talking about it, and because he's also simultaneously said, well, they should probably release files
And he's
if they
still
can.
talking about it. He put that post out today. He didn't have to put that post out.
Exactly. Well, the guy can't quit. Let's put it that way. And so here we are 10 days later talking about this. And frankly, he should know better than most that these conspiracy theories are impossible to tame. You have to manage them.
Ryan Noble, Sam Stein, Congressman Carlos Curbelo, thank you all.